Hello, and welcome to the 129th episode of Movie and TV Talk. On this episode, I'm going to be discussing and giving my thoughts on Transformers 1. Remember, there will be spoilers, so let's transform and roll into this. Now, at this time, I have only seen the movie one time in theaters, so I'm going to do my best to remember the plot of the movie. The movie begins with Orion Pax breaking into the archives to find information on the Matrix of Leadership. What Pax does find is a film detailing how Cybertron was created and the creation of the 13 Primes and their war with the Quintessons. They get caught, and an epic chase ensues that ends with Pax getting hidden by D16 and escaping. From there, we go to the two go to work under Elita 1 in the mines, and they open a new mine shaft, but things go bad and Jazz almost dies, but Pax and D16 save Jazz and get out, but Elita 1 gets demoted for what happens anyway. Then there's a message from Sentinel Prime saying that the previous expedition to the surface did not yield the Matrix leadership, but that the following day is the Iacon 5000 race. The next day comes, and Pax gets a good spot for themselves and D16 to watch the race, but Pax actually puts themselves in the race with jetpacks. They ultimately lose the race, but Sentinel Prime is so impressed by them. However, they manage to piss off Darkwing, who drags them down to sub-level 50, where they meet B-127. They find a message down there with coordinates that could lead to the Matrix, so the three of them decide to put a plan in motion where they hitch a ride on a mining train to the surface. In doing so, they basically bring Elita 1 into their mission completely by accident. They eventually find a cave with the remains of the 13 Primes. All except Alpha Trion are dead, and they reactivate Alpha Trion. Alpha Trion explains to them, before they get to witness, how Sentinel Prime has a deal with the Quintessons where Sentinel gives them Energon, and they leave Cybertron alone. They all now know and have seen that Sentinel Prime is a fake who isn't worthy of the Matrix, and D16 is taking it the hardest since he thought really highly of Sentinel. This also is the point that Alpha Trion grants R4 the T-Cogs from the fallen Primes. Then Sentinel's goons show up, and they all learn to transform pretty quickly. R4 are now on their way back to Iacon with proof of Sentinel's betrayal, but R4 get ambushed and wake up in front of the High Guard, aka Starscream, Soundwave, and Shockwave. D16 gets in a scrap with Starscream and really screws up his voice, and then gives a speech about, people can stay and cower with Starscream or take the fight to Sentinel. Of course, Sentinel's goons attack and capture B-127 and D16, leaving Orion and Elita on their own with the rest of the remainder of the High Guard. They rally what's left of the High Guard, and Orion gets a bunch of miners, and they launch an attack on Sentinel Prime himself. Eventually, they make it to a tower and broadcast proof of Sentinel's betrayal, but it's not good enough for D16, who is basically ready to kill Sentinel, but Orion jumps in front of the shot. D16 lets Orion fall, vowing to not save them anymore, and Pax falls and falls and falls until he hits the core of Cybertron, where it is determined that they are now worthy of the Matrix of Leadership, and then gets spit out as Optimus Prime. Just after D16 rips Sentinel Prime in half and also takes Megatronus's T-Cog from Sentinel's body and puts it in their own. Of course, Optimus and Megatron fight until Prime slices Megatron's cannon. In the end, Megatron takes the High Guard and is banished from Iacon, and Energon flows through Cybertron once again, and that's pretty much the movie. Now, getting into what I thought about Transformers 1 here, and starting things with some of the issues that I had, and I think the biggest issues that go hand in hand is that things happen too quick, and our main four bots just don't have much in terms of what defines them as characters. Elita 1's entire character is just thinking that they're better than everyone. B-127's entire character is that they just talk too much. D16 is a very one-note character as well, but His turn to evil, while expected, really comes out of nowhere. Early in the movie, D16 is very much the follow protocol bot, and then, once given a TCOG, it's like a switch flips and D16 is just evil from that point on. Really wish it would have been a more gradual turn. D16 should have been more anti-authority earlier in the movie, and that would have been more of a clue as to what happens later to D16 in the movie, even if it's what everyone is expecting to happen. Heck, I'd even say that right before giving their TCOG, when flat out saying that Sentinel deserves to die for their betrayal, from that point on in the film, D16 is just evil. Like I said, I wish it had been a gradual change. Unfortunately, PAX doesn't fare much better. My issue with this iteration of PAX is that they don't show the early characteristics of what will become. PAX is just this hot-headed bot that puts these crazy plans together that just happen to work out and unknowingly ropes in other people too. Even towards the middle point of the movie, after Sentinel's goons attack the High Guard's hiding place, and then, Elita 1 and PAX are like sitting there with the rest of the High Guard, Elita 1 gives this speech to PAX about how PAX is really charismatic and courageous and stuff, and I'm like, that is not the PAX that I see in this movie. PAX has none of those qualities in this movie, to me, and I feel like PAX just kind of gets by on dumb luck. So, in the moment of the big battle, when PAX takes the shot for Sentinel, and that's what makes them worthy of the Matrix, it just feels kind of forced, I guess. Like, I feel like PAX needed to do more in this movie to be worthy of the Matrix, but, the plot demanded it, so there you go. I don't know. It's just very difficult to see this version of PAX having the qualities of future Optimus Prime, but most iterations of Prime that we do get are post-Cybertronian Civil War, so perhaps I shouldn't be so hard on it. There are some changes in this origin story that I'm not the biggest fan of. One is that it is the Matrix of Leadership that is responsible for energon flowing all over Cybertron. Most origins have the Well of Allsparks for that, and the Matrix of Leadership is a separate relic. I'm also not really a big fan of making Orion Pax a minor. I always thought it was more interesting having Orion Pax be an archivist and Megatronus be the minor/gladiator. They come from two different walks of life with different, knowledge of how things are. Pax is always the book smart kind. Megatronus is always the down on the street level kind, and I've always liked that. And they, both share the same ideals somehow. It's not like you can't make having both of them being minors work. I just kind of like it better the other way. A very small thing is I found the comedy to just be very hit and miss, but I did think that both the animation and music were very well done. I kind of feel like I heard some nods to Transformers Prime in the score a few times, which I really liked that. I'm also glad they didn't dive much into the Quintessons in this movie, just kept it as Sentinel being the bad guy. I really liked the designs of all the bots and the Quintessons. Personally, I thought the voice acting was very good. I saw stuff going into this movie about how, Hemsworth just sounds like himself, and no, he doesn't. And neither do the other celebrities doing the voices for this movie. And yes, I know, choosing stars over actual voice actors isn't the best route most of the time, but I don't think it was too bad here. Overall, I genuinely think that this movie could have done a lot more than what we got, despite the fact that I really did enjoy watching this movie. Transformers 1 is a good and enjoyable movie. So that's all I have to say. So if you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.